is Ashleigh Barnett-Clarke, and I am the founder of Transparent Talk. Founder of Transparent Talk. Transparent Talk, if you don't know, is a Christian talk show where Christians come together and we have conversation on all types of topics. All topics where we speak openly, honestly, and transparently, using, I say not using, but being very open with our personal experiences as well, based on the topic and on the topic. So the topics could range from forgiveness to our experiences with horoscopes, to purpose, all types of things, all types of topics, etc. Yeah, so Transparent Talk was formed, created 5 years ago, and this is our 5-year anniversary special. Pow, 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 pow. Thank you guys for joining. So today is called The Truth Behind Transparent Talk. So today, guys, I am going to be sharing with you my transparency story, my transparency journey, the background to how Transparent Talk began. The background of it. So where it came from for me. You might have seen some quotes, but if you scroll through the Transparent Talk page, and where there's some quotes of based on like what I've said in regards to transparency, one of them being, when I began to be transparent, I began to heal. And I will be sharing some of that healing story, journey with you, transparently. You like that one there? I'll make myself laugh. But so just as a disclaimer that I will be speaking on things of a sensitive issue. So please do, if you just need any additional support where we can, please do just send like DMs after, at the end, just send me a DM, and where I can support, or where we can support, we'll give you some support in that area. But I will be talking on things that may be a bit sensitive for some. So yeah, just as that, just as a bit of a disclaimer. I will try where I can to interact with comments, but I'm going to be looking at my notes as well, so I might not see comments, I might not see if you've got questions and things like that. And there's a lot to get out, there's a lot to share, because I want to actually share with you guys the journey, the background. I think it is important, as those who have supported supported Transparent Talk, it's important to know some background and some history, and into where, like, the foundation, if you like, of this, the foundation of Transparent Talk, and why it is so dear to me, why it is so dear to my heart. So guys, so welcome, 5th anniversary special, Truth Behind Transparent Talk. Let's go. So just to give you a bit of background on me, and how I was as a person. This is now pre-Transparent Talk. So way before I started Transparent Talk. Transparent Talk started 2016. So before Transparent Talk, just to let you know how I was as a person. Hey Lisa, just to let you know a bit about how I was and as a person, and just a bit about how I was back before I began my transparency. So one of the things was I really did struggle to be vulnerable with people. I kind of just held myself together, and not necessarily intentionally, but that's just what I did. That's just how I was. That's just how I be, like, holding myself together, coming across to many coming across as quite strong, could be quite maybe even direct in what I say, delivery, kind of, yeah. But the thing is, as me kind of struggling with that kind of vulnerability, inside inside there's like a softness to me, like very soft, quite sensitive, do you know what I mean? But I just struggled to like, when I say vulnerable, I mean like the sense of certain vulnerabilities that I couldn't really express. I say vulnerability, like emotions, that's the word. Certain emotions. So I could express frustration very well. I could express anger, I could express irritation, and joy. I hope, I think, I believe. But certain, those vulnerable ones that like hurt, upset, like sad, like I struggled. Like I struggled to in saying or expressing as such what I feel, and thinking about it as well. Maybe if I was hurt and if I was upset or I was sad, it would come across probably as probably anger or frustration, irritation. You'll probably see me more direct, but I don't know if that. Yeah, kind of. But sometimes what it was that there was another, it could have been a hurt that was causing that. It could have been that I was upset about something or sad, whatever the situation or circumstance was. And also one of the things, how I was as well was like, I had the kind of mindset that God knew, so nobody else can help me. So why talk to people, innit? Why do I need to talk to people? Why do I need to tell people anything? Why do I need to say what's going on with me if God knows? I don't need to vocalize or speak, express myself to them. God knows. So yeah. Yeah. But actually, one of I found it over time, depending who I probably could, was probably when I was in relationships. There could probably be over time, probably maybe not necessarily in the start, but over time I could probably express more how I felt over time in relationships. But even then, or actually friends who maybe have, like, I don't want to maybe prove themselves or show themselves to kind of be, I don't know if the word is worthy of that transparency or worthy of that kind of vulnerability, or kind of I don't know if the word is worthy. Like, they had to show certain characteristics or certain things that I saw, so that I could trust my emotion, if you like. I could trust that part of me with them. Do you know what I mean? But they had to show, there was something that they probably had to show. But even then, it might be very limited in what I show, or what I share, or what I show, or what I say to them. But very, very few saw me in a vulnerable state. Like, very, very few people. So yeah, I struggle trusting people. Like, trusting people, trusting their heart, trusting their responses, also even their advice and support. Like, literally, it's real, and it's this real. Some people mean well, but they are just not. I don't know whether it's capable, but maybe their capacity. Some people mean well, but like their advice and certain things they say, it's not. They can't be trusted as such. So even like they're trusting in some sense of trusting, even if it's going to be chatted or gossiped about or what have you, and even like that, some people mean well, but they can't help but chat, they can't help but talk, they can't help but gossip, they can't help but gossip about you in the form of a prayer request. Let that one sit with us for a moment, a little Selah moment there. But literally gossip about you in the form of a prayer request even. Do you know what I mean? But some people, they can't help it, and they don't even necessarily mean it. They say, you never guess what. Sometimes there is this people, they just sit and they talk. But so I struggled with trusting people. Also kind of had a fear. There was also, trust is important. Trust is so important. And I kind of had a fear to speak out. So I had a fear, kind of like my voice, if you like, went very internal, like very internal. Even now, I think a lot. Some people might say I overthink, and I think I do agree with that. I do overthink things, and I think a lot. But it was sometimes it's a fear. It was like a fear to speak out. So might start thinking what I want to say, or thinking what I want to do, thinking what I want to say, but I couldn't actually bring myself to say it. Like, so in my head, the whole sentence is there, like, say this or da 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 da. But I couldn't bring it to my mouth. And it could be that, like, I also might have thought, like, what would happen as a result of me saying that, or what would happen on the back of me saying whatever I would have said. Do you know what I mean? So there was kind of, there was that kind of way that I had that way about me. You know, fear of people's responses. So what if they say this, or say if they do that, or what if what are they going to say, or what kind of attention am I going to get, or what kind of, based on what I say. Yeah, and like I say, overthinking on what I want to say in situations, and yes, overthinking to the point of a lot of the time maybe not doing and not getting things done, or not doing certain things. So like another one as well, which kind of all ties into that, it all ties in, is like, I'll call it like the loss of my voice. So my voice, like there was a total loss of voice, I'm going to say, particularly when it came to the opposite sex. So there was, when it came to having sex with the opposite sex, obvious, it's not obvious, but okay, but anyway, when it came to sexual situations with the opposite sex, my voice just went. There was no voice. Again, all of that internal voice, my voice going internal, it just, all of that happened. And so even like when let's say I could kind of speak out, like I say, I could speak out on certain matters, but in the area when it came to sex, there was no voice. Like my voice, there was none. It was gone. It was gone. Yeah, so that is a bit or some background, but I will go background pre-transparent talk, just to give you a bit, help you build a picture of me. Yeah, I say picture, but yeah, whatever, picture. Yeah, help you just to build a picture. So yeah, that was kind of where I was at. That was kind of the things I was dealing with internally, and those ways about me, unless you some people would never have known either that I was like that. Like I say, I could talk up on very certain matter. I could talk, but people wouldn't know that those are things that kind of my mindset, or the things that are going on inside of me. Do you know what I mean? People wouldn't know, would not have known. So let's say around roughly 2014 ish, 14, 15-ish, around about that time, I was in a relationship, and in that relationship I wasn't happy. So I was in a relationship, and in that relationship I was very down. I wasn't happy in that relationship, and it's not that he was mistreating me, no, but within myself I was down, like, and a lot of the times it was like how I got into the relationship, and even relationships prior to that, a lot of the times, because like I went like to the loss of voice in sex, I got into relationships, and probably like taking years out of my life relationships, because of the sexual part, because of the sex, I ended up getting into being in a relationship. So I wasn't happy, like not happy, even if it's like my mindset kind of was that I've had sex with them, I'm gonna try and make this work now. Like, I'm gonna try and make, I don't know if the word is good out of a bad situation, but I'm gonna try, well maybe it is that, I'm gonna try like, but within myself, like that particular relationship, at that time, I just was not happy. I was very, very, very down. Very, very down. And you know, I was a Christian as well. So Christian having sex, that was another reason why I was down. You know, because as a Christian, you want to, if you are a Christian, you want, you know, how you're supposed to live. But two, you actually want to live right for God. Do you know what I mean? You want to do your best. You want to live right for God. This is the God who you call upon, you pray upon, who I call upon, and who I pray to every day. Do you know what I mean? And worship. So you want to please your Father in heaven. You want to you want to live right, and you don't just want to be having sex, in it. It just is what it is. Yeah. So I remember in that relationship, particularly, I what's the word? I couldn't really relax. But that was a lot of the relationships as well. Like I kind of struggled in the area of kind of relaxing, like being at ease. So relationships, and that could be relationships with friends or family, struggled in the area of just kind of relaxing. Like there was always kind of like I don't know if the word is a wall or a guard up, but there was something up. Do you know what I mean? Some kind of protective coat, whether intentionally or not. But particularly in the relationships, because I kind of, when I knew that this isn't for me, a wall would naturally go up, so I couldn't relax. It's like it would just naturally, or a guard would just naturally go up in a certain way. Yeah. But there was, as I, hey Phils, as the relationship, no, let's say as about a year or so in, I reached a point where I was like probably within myself at my lowest, and I remember him like asking like, what's wrong, da da, and you can't really tell, like something he just wouldn't get, he wouldn't understand. So again, going back to God knows, like you can't help me on this one, like you can't help me like on this one, but I'm in this, and I need to try and see if I can make this relationship work. But I was very down, and it was evident to him as well that I was down. It's very evident to him. There was no denying it. Yeah, so that was about a year or so in. Can't remember how long in particularly, but I remember at that point of this being so down, I one day I was at home. I was at home alone. Sorry. No, yeah. So one day I was at home, and but I was at home and I was down. I remember I was on my bed, and sitting on my bed, and like just looking at the person who I was, and didn't like this person who I was, and kind of hated the fact that I was like this, hated that person, hated the fact that I was like that, like into these relationships, and it's starting with the sex and into it, and had kind of no backbone kind of in that kind of area. And I was on my bed, and I literally was like, I say cried out to God, like literally spoke to God in transparency, like, God, I need your help. I need you to get me out. I need you to set me free, but not necessarily just get me out of the relationship. It's not that. Do you know what I mean? It's not just that, because I'm telling you, there was a cycle. It was a cycle. Yeah. So I remember sitting on my bed, and I remember like, I knew and saying to God, I know if I come out of this relationship, I know, give it not long, and I'm going to be in another one, and it will be the same situation. It was a cycle that I saw myself going many a times. Do you know what I mean? And me seeing that cycle, and I was like, God, I can see the cycle's there. But so it's not just breaking me out of this relationship, but I need to be broken. Like I need to be set free properly from this. Do you know what I mean? Not to say that I didn't want to be in a relationship or have a relationship, long-term relationship, get married one day. Not to say that, but that cycle of how things were, that was not for me. Like that was getting me, that got me down. That I knew that no relationship that I got on that basis, I would not be I would be happy in. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, and my experience showed me that there was no, there was none of those relationships I was happy in, as such. Yeah, no. So yeah, I cried. Literally, I just cried on my bed like God, like, and like I say, like that being kind of a cycle, and that kind of loss of voice in that particular area, particularly in regards to the sex. It was like that was what the devil, Satan, would kind of use to entangle me, like to take advantage of me, and whether it even be for men to take advantage or guys of opposite sex to take advantage, but Satan would use that because Satan knew that my voice, there was no voice there, that my voice, do you know what I mean? So he knew that, put her in the circumstance, her voice, she's not going to be able to talk, she's going to stop and it's going to be done. Yeah, but that day, I was transparent with God. Like, the first and foremost, I was transparent with God. Like, God knew, like I said in the beginning, like, God knew, but even though God knew, it was like I had to actually say it and bring it to God. And I had to reach the place of actually, I feel like I probably had to reach the place of actually wanting a change and seeing it. I don't have to say it's wanting, because I can't say I didn't want a change throughout the time. But at that point, I just know I was desperate. I remember at that point I was desperate. Like, I couldn't bear for that to happen. That cycle, in that sense of getting in these long-term, another like years passing relationships that I knew God weren't for, or it just weren't gonna happen. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I remember as well, up onto the running of that, like, I kind of knew like the root of this had to kind of be addressed. It kept kind of coming to mind, and that is, that's how God works. Like, he brings things to mind. So like, yeah, he brings things to mind. It kept on coming to mind, like in regards to the relationships and me getting in certain things just kept on coming to mind. Like, that was the link. This was the link to why this was kept on happening. Like, that was the link. Yeah, and it was like me, I guess, recognizing that was, hey Caris, me recognizing that was a affecting my behavior and affecting me. So I knew that it was time to address the root of the issue. So I was on my bed, like, cried to God about it. And then I remember literally a couple minutes or so later, I was still on the bed in the dark, sitting there in the middle of my bed, if you could imagine it. I look now, maybe one day I'll do a movie on it. But yeah, but literally a couple minutes later, my phone rang, and I looked at my phone, and it was my pastor. Yeah, it was my pastor. And like, the way how God works, that's how God works. Like, you just know how God, like, you'll get to like how God works. And in me seeing the pastor call, literally a couple minutes after I call upon God in like distress, like, God, I knew that this was God. Like, God was in this phone call. So however this phone call was gonna go, I knew I had to just be honest. I knew I had to be honest, transparent, honest. And one of the things is, generally anyway, I don't lie. I despise lies. So I'd more not say nothing. But whatever it was, I knew that however the conversation was, I'm going to have to be willing to speak, not say nothing, be willing to speak. Hey, Lord willing. Yeah, I knew that I was going to have to be willing to speak. So my pastor called, and I can't remember if maybe I wasn't consistently at that point going to church. I can't remember properly, but that was probably, I could imagine that was probably it. But he was saying, hi, how am I? And I can't remember how exactly, but it happened. And I ended up saying in that phone call that I was in a relationship. I think he knew I was in a relationship, actually, but he didn't know I was having sex. So by the end of that conversation, he knew that I was having sex. I can't remember exactly how the conversation went or how it came up, but based on the fact that I was just crying and praying to God, I was just like, okay, God, like whatever you need to do or whatever I need to say, I'm there in it. So, and he said to me, I remember my pastor saying, we have to address the root of this now. And it was like I just heard God in that sentence, and I just knew, like, okay, I have to address it. Like I heard, and I remember saying, yeah, I know. And the phone call ended, and I think he said he was gonna like just pray, and then see how things go from there. But I knew like it was time to just address the things that God was bringing to mind. So a few weeks later, not too long, I think a few weeks or so, later, I got another phone call. And thinking about it, actually, I was actually in my room as well when I got the phone call. I think it was daytime, but anyway, I don't think that's relevant, but you know, the glory of God. But yeah, anyway, I got a phone call, and the phone call was from my pastor's wife, and she said to me, and it was that phone call where I kind of felt that was just the beginning. I think, well, to be maybe on the beginning on the bed was the beginning when I was with God crying out, but it was like in that phone call, yeah, I just felt within myself like a shift, like something. So she was like, how are you? And she had a genuine sense of concern, and I don't know if I ever experienced that sense of concern before being in church. I don't think I have experienced, or had, should I say, experienced. But there was something in this that was just pure love, like pure. It was just like a pure love, and like a genuine, like, I'm concerned, like something's wrong. I feel like something's wrong. Like, how are you? Like, what's going on? Like, and she said, let's go for lunch. And I just knew, without a doubt that God was in this. Like I say, how things were, and God, I just knew God was in it. So the day came for us to go to lunch, and I just knew on the run up to this, again, I had to tell myself, because if you go back to when I was saying at the beginning about my voice and the loss of voice, I had to kind of tell myself at the beginning that before, like on the way, that you are going to have to speak. You're going to have to actually tell her, you're going to have to speak. Like telling myself, like, do not leave without speaking. Like telling myself, having to encourage myself. When you have to encourage yourself and tell yourself and pray, like, God, please just help me speak, help me say what needs to be said. I just knew. So I remember going and meeting her for the lunch, and we went to the Turkish restaurant. If anybody wants to take me to a Turkish restaurant, I'm all for it. Now that lockdown, certain things in lockdown have been lifted. But yeah, we went to a Turkish restaurant, and in that Turkish restaurant we made our orders and that, and I remember just like getting hot, you know, like when they talk about sweaty palms and all of that in like the films and in the movies, like your palms are sweaty. And I remember I was sitting at the table and our palms were sweaty. Like, it's real, guys. If you've never experienced sweaty palms before, it is real. But I had the sweaty palms. I was nervous. I remember like just shaky, you know, like you're picking up the cutlery, putting it down, picking up tissue, putting it down. I remember just like that proper nervousness there, but in my head saying, Ashleigh, you got to speak, you got to make sure you speak. But because I knew that this was God intervening, I just knew it was God responding to my prayer, responding to my cry, responding to literally my cry for help. So she said, after we done the small talk, like, so what's going on? Like, what's happened? And I remember like I went quiet, but it's like my tongue couldn't speak. But inside, and I say now the voice goes internal, do you know what I mean? I was saying, actually just say it. I would say it, just say it, just say it, just say it. Do you know what I mean? And it was tough because this particular thing I hadn't spoken about since I was in year 7 at school. Yeah, I hadn't spoken about since then. So yeah, and that time in year 7 in school was the only time that I spoke about it. And what was that, like 10, 15, however many years before then, before that moment. Do you know what I mean? But my voice was just very internal. And I was just like saying, go on, Ashleigh, like speak, just say it, just say it. But the love that was at that table, like the patience, the kindness, the like, where she was just like, it's okay, like when I'm not going nowhere, it's fine, like I'm here, like, so. And it was just like, and something that just like connected from, like I say, from the phone call, was that she wasn't focusing on the sex. Like, she was not focusing on the relationship even. She was not focusing on the sex. She was not focusing on none of that. She was focusing on, how's my ash? That's what she calls me. Like, that's what she was focusing on. Like, how are you? Like, what's going on? Like, how are you? Like, what's happened? Has something happened? Like, not like you're having sex or you're this or you're that. There was none of that. Like, none of that. Like, and that is what I just, like, at that table, that is where I saw the love of God. The love of God. That was where I saw the love of God, where the focus weren't on you're doing this right or you're doing this wrong. You know, that was what a lot of the things that I was used to hearing about was, you're doing this right and you're doing this wrong. But she wasn't focused on none of that. She was focused on what's happening. Like, something's not right with you, something's wrong. I can see, I can sense it, I can feel it, like something's wrong. And yeah, but that moment, and I must stress it again, was where I was introduced to the love of Christ, the love of God, the love of Jesus, that holistic love that doesn't look to you and focus on you're doing this wrong, that wrong, this wrong, that wrong, behavior, performance. That, and I don't know how or where I missed it in my 10 years prior of salvation, of being a Christian. But all I know is I missed it, or I don't know, I didn't hear it, or I didn't hear that God loves you. I did not hear that. And I don't know why. I don't know, I say that was missed. That love preaching, talking is missed, or was missed. I don't, yeah. But I saw God sitting across that table from me. God's love. Him sitting there in his love, as a father loves his child, as a mother loves her child, as a friend genuinely loves and says, what's going on with you? I know something's not right. What's going on? That is what I saw. I saw the love of God introduced to me, opposite me on that table. But yeah, she was very patient because I couldn't speak. She was very, very patient. If you go to the Bible, if anyone here is a Christian, or what, we got internet, 1 Corinthians 13, that love, patient, kindness, all of that, read that out. That was her on that table with me. Love, the love of God. But yeah, and she smiled and she was just encouraging me. And then she started to go, I think she went through things, and she said, did something happen? Did something happen? And then I said, like, did someone, she said, I think the words were, did someone do something to you? And then I said yes. And it was in that moment, I literally just felt, I felt it, literally. I don't know if, I remember I just felt like the lift, like as if a chain just dropped off me. I felt it. Yeah. So, when I was younger, I was sexually abused, and it was over a period of time. I can't remember how long exactly. I can't remember the years. I remember it was primary school into secondary school. over some period of time. But yes, I was sexually abused, and this was the root, or the area that God said like was the cause of the loss of voice, and why I was in that cycle that I was in. Yeah, I was abused by somebody who I should have trusted. Yeah, I should have trusted. Yeah. Hey, Aaron. Hey. Yeah. So I remember sharing with her what the details of kind of some of the details, some of the bits that I was aware of or remembered at the table, and just sharing with her. But I kind of knew that that abuse, like that abuse was the root or the cause of so many things in my life. It was the thing that held me back in so many areas. So if you remember at the beginning, or those of you who were there at the beginning, when I said some things, all of those things, that was the cause of all of those things. So constantly being in a relationship I shouldn't be in, you know, that deep down I didn't really even want to be in. Do you know what I mean? That kind of sex cycle of, just losing my voice, I guess, in the area of sex. Like just totally just voice just gone. Like, yeah. So if you like, not that the opposite sex could just treat me anyhow in regards to sex, but I there was a lot of I would end up giving in very easily or very quickly. Easily, quickly, same thing. Easily, quickly. I don't know if that is the same thing, but anyway, whatever. But yeah, and that was a part that was the root, and just that toughness to kind of say no with authority, because not that every time I didn't say no, it was just the authority, you know, the firm, hard, like no, get off, that was gone. I didn't have that. It was just like it just kind of it shrunk, or I shrunk. I don't know whether shrunk back or I don't know, but and that kind of Aaron, I will try to make sure I press the right buttons and save it and share on my main page. I will try. But yeah, and even like that loss of voice and that kind of cycle in that sense, like I remember it, like even like that, like it took me back to like the times when the abuse was taking place, and like I just remember like even being in the same place, or the same place, or be the same room, just being nearby or close by to this person, and like you kind of have a sense, of when it was going to happen. You kind of had a sense, just based, like, you just had a sense, and then it would happen. But I remember like just going into my head and just like telling myself in those moments, like speak, like shout, call for somebody, call for your mom, call for somebody, call for anybody, shout. Keep like telling myself in my head, like, can't somebody just walk in the room? Can't somebody just come in? Can't somebody? I remember just saying that to myself, but I couldn't bring the words out, like, and that loss of that was the root that followed me through into adolescence or adulthood. It followed me through. That was the root. And so if you like, I did say no, but it was just silent in that sense. And even like another effect of just that could cause people to think that you're promiscuous, you know, that you just have sex with just anybody, like you're promiscuous. And I don't think I agree with that at all. Like, it's not about, well, not that I know the politically correct definition of promiscuous if I was to do an Oxford dictionary search, but no, it was just when it came to that area of sex, my voice was gone. It was gone. It was lost. So I could not. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But to the outward appearance, or to the outward, or to those who might have got, those who could have, so it could have come across as that, which I get, I understand. Do you know what I mean? And like I said before, Satan knew he could take advantage of me, I guess, in that area because of that. Yeah. Another, when I think about like just the effects and things, I think of like, so like I said, that no backbone sexually. So if you like now, even those sexual boundaries for me, or those walls, they got broken. Excuse me. Or so young before they even were able to be put in place. So I didn't even know about sexual boundaries or what that meant to do you know what I mean? Yeah, they got broken so young. Or I say broken. Yeah, maybe it's broken. But all I know is they weren't there. They weren't there, but they weren't there because they didn't even have a chance to even be put in place. Hey Nadine. Yeah. So that kind of sexual boundary it was non-existent. It was non-existent. You know, the worth and the self-worth, the respect and the value. It's not that I didn't want to be respected, but I didn't know how to respect myself. So even when you could be in church, for example, and they're saying you need to respect yourself, do I even know what that looks like? Because I never got to even, that didn't even get to be established in me, because that was taken from me before it even got to be taught. When it says, like the Bible says, train up a child in the way that the child should go, it did not even get to the teaching point before of what self-respect is, or what self-respect looks like. So I didn't know what that looks like. Do you know what I mean? What my worth, I didn't know what my worth was. Like, how much are you? I didn't know that you're worth so much that a man or a guy should be willing to marry you before he puts his hand on you, before he touches you. That there was just no, there was no, it wasn't there. Like, yeah, it just wasn't there. Not that I thought I was worth nothing, but the thought of the worth and the value, that wasn't there, or the respect wasn't there. But like I say, I would desire to be respected by the opposite sex, but to implement that, yeah, that wasn't, that I wasn't taught that. And no, you shouldn't just know things. Yeah, so if anybody says that, well, you should just know, or when you reach a certain point or reach a certain age, you should just know. No, you shouldn't just know anything. You should be taught things. You need to be taught things to know things, or to understand. Let's not think that anybody should just know anything. Let's not take that for granted. Otherwise, a lot of people wouldn't be in certain circumstances or go through those things because they should just know how to scream for help. No, they shouldn't. They need to be taught how to scream for help, and let them know that your voice is important. But yeah, so that was a part of the cycle. Another cycle, just even being in the relationships was, which I guess relationships, just in those sexual experiences, was like getting into like the amount of morning after pills that I had to take. Like the amount of morning after pills I had to take. And I remember, had to, but I took, which don't necessarily have to do anything, but I took. Yeah. And I remember at one reaching the point of saying to God, I'm not going to take no more morning after pills. I said it to God. So that tells you there was a point when, like, being in the Christian, you know, because of that, being in my salvation, that there was a point of morning after pills. Yeah. But I remember saying to him, there will be no more that I will take. And even like that relationship that I was in, when I was talking earlier about the relationship, I remember in that very early stage of getting, I think it could have been, it could have even been the first time we had sex, I can't remember. But I remember him saying, like, so you're going to take the morning after pill, innit? And he actually went with me to the chemist, to the pharmacy. He bought the pill over the counter. And I remember going back to his house and I took the pill, and I remember that was after I made that promise, and that literally a promise and a vow to God. And to me, I take those things serious. But I took it, but it wasn't because I wanted to. And it was just like, again, like with the opposite sex to certain things, and certain things in the area of those things that think equated around sex, my voice was gone. So even though I knew what I said to God, like I remember taking it, and I felt worse taking that than I did even having sex. Like, because I knew what I vowed and what I promised God, I just felt like that for me, because I'm a person who I keep my word. I like to keep my word. If I say it, I'm gonna do it. And especially if it comes to God, if I say I'm gonna try, like I don't just vow to God. I don't do that. But that for me, that I remember that moment. I remember that day, and I just felt the sink. Like I was probably more disappointed in myself at taking that than I was about having the sex, to be honest. But yeah, the morning after pills, the infections, like the amount of antibiotics I've had to take, yeah, it was real. And all of that because these boundaries were gone or non-existent, because my voice was gone due to being abused. Yeah. And I remember at certain times, like I remember trying as well, like some of the things was I would also try to get comfort from or try at times. It weren't, but there were certain times, maybe when I was at a point of really lowness, I would say, okay, maybe like I can get comfort from sex or from a man or from a relationship. But then hating it and not liking it and just wanting it over very quickly. Yeah, so like kind of seeking some sort of that void, I guess, that emptiness or whatever that was, that downness, to be comforted by hey, I think that's Andrea. Hey, Andrea, I think it is. Yeah, I remember that kind of having that as well at times, well, all the time, but at some times, and it would never ever. Yeah, you would still feel just as rubbish as you felt, in probably worse, because probably worse. Yeah. And I remember as well, like even like that, trying to say get the enjoyment from it, or get the enjoyment from try to enjoy it or get comfort from it. I remember when I was in school, when I did speak about it to some of my peers in school who I spoke about it to, some of my peers, and they said, no, not they said, I said to them, I'm gonna see, and this is when I was being abused, and I said to them, I'm gonna try to make myself enjoy it. I remember saying that to them. I'm gonna try to make myself enjoy it, because I might as well win it, because it's just gonna keep happening. So I'm gonna try to make myself enjoy it. So even like that, like it kind of like when you see, like you try, even like in the relationships, when you try and make good out of a bad situation or a situation you don't really want to be in. So can you see like those unhealthy, like really kind of mindsets and things that now that was just developed in me as a child and had just developed in me. Yeah, that's kind of a lot of how it was for me. Yeah. So like some of those are some of the effects anyway of that, of the sexual abuse. But it was going back now to our pastor's wife. So she said she at the table, I remember going through with her and just telling her some of the details and some of the information, and she at a later, she was, I think at a later date, I spoke with another lady from my church, with her, with my pastor's wife, but another lady who kind of, who knew some stuff about, who I confided in about some stuff. So I was very confident and very, I was like, say confident, okay, comfortable. Probably I was just as nervous and just as nervous to share, but confident in, like, I trusted her. She was trustworthy, and I trusted her heart, I trusted her voice, I trusted her advice, I trusted her. Yeah. But I remember, like, when it was the three of us one day, and when I said it to her, she said, she said to me, Ashleigh, you're not you know, like when the world talks about a survivor, she said, it's not a survivor. She said, the Bible says you're more than a conqueror. She said, you are an overcomer. Yeah. And you're an overcomer. You are more than a conqueror. It's not just it's not a survivor. Do you know what I mean? Not just, you survived it and you got, no, overcome, like, and even when I think of somebody like that, or more than a conqueror, I think on somebody like standing on that thing, standing on that, like that thing that tried to take them out, and just saying, like, yeah, I'm like standing on it, like it's head chop off. Like if you think of like a Goliath, standing on the Goliath with your head, with its head chop off, and you're on top of it, and hey, clear intentions, Crystal. But yeah, like imagine like standing on, imagine like be more than a conqueror of this thing, standing on top of it with its head chopped off, just like, yeah, like you haven't got me, not just surviving it, but I've defeated it. And that's what she said to me. I remember her saying that to me. Yeah. And that will stick with me. Like, you are more than a conqueror. You are an overcomer of this thing that tried to take you out. Yeah, that is what you are, not a survivor, an overcomer, and more than a conqueror. But yeah, they between the two of them, and this is when I say the love, like between the two of them, they spoke to me about counselling, and both my pastor's wife and her, they both paid. They paid for my counselling. They paid for me to have a period of counselling for that. That's another important thing, guys, is you know, sometimes as we're Christians, we do try to pray things away. That's what I was doing in the beginning, like before I come to that point of sharing. And it's not, sometimes it is the prayer. Sometimes God, this is where God was saying, like, sometimes I'm calling people to walk with you. So it could be a counselor, it could be this person, but you're going to see my love now in the people, and through people, specific people who I've called to walk with you on that journey, or walk with you for certain parts, through certain situations. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you're going to have to go to some counselling to help. If you reach a point of, you know what, I want help, I think at that point I was willing to try whatever was necessary in the Lord to do what I had to do to get my change and to get my shift. Yeah. So they pay for some counselling. I remember, and that was one of the things. But also another one of the things was I would go to her house, like my pastor's wife. I would go to their house like every week, without fail. I would go to the house, whether it be for lunch or for dinner, but I would be there without fail. And it was just that space where I would just talk about anything and everything, very informal, but just like I say, the love. It was just no judgment, no whatever, no nothing, but it's just pure love, pure genuine love. And going back to the counselling, I remember in the first session of the counselling, either the first or second, but one of those two, and when, like, I don't think I told the counsellor like the actual what it was I was there for, and I remember, like, again, going there and saying to myself, okay, Ashleigh, you need to speak. You're going to have to speak. Again, encouraging myself and, like, telling myself that I need to talk, I need to speak. And then I remember, like, imagine, like, the counselling sessions, like 50 minutes, I think it was 50 minutes to an hour. It was like the whole session, I think it was the second session, actually. The whole of the session, I was silent. I couldn't bring the words out of my mouth till about 10 minutes before the end. 10 minutes before the end, I remember I said it. But imagine that whole, let's say it's 50 minutes, the whole of the 40 minutes, I'm in my head saying, actually say it, actually say it, actually say it, actually say it. Like, and it was just the last 10 minutes. Do you know what though? It's not just the last. I'm grateful that I got and that I spoke. Like, I'm thankful. Like, and I remember saying to myself, looking at the clock, like, okay, do not leave this place today without saying it. You cannot leave. You cannot leave. Telling me myself that in my head, like, you need to. And she was sitting there. The lady, the counselor, she was sitting there, and she was so patient. She was so patient. And then when I told her, when I actually said it to her, she said, "Oh," she said, there was all sorts going through my head. What could have been. There was so much going through my head, like, and it's interesting that some people, like, not say some people, but it's true. That's what sometimes people might paint their own picture when we're not talking. It can paint a picture, whatever their picture is they're painting. And she wasn't necessarily painting a picture, but she said that she was like all sorts were just going through her head. In this, like, what could it be? Could it be this? Could it be that? Could it be that? And obviously, as a counsellor, there's many things that she hears of or hears about. But yeah, but through those counselling sessions, I remember one of the core things that she was addressing, because I spoke to her about the relationships, because that was the point that brought me to that point. That was the issue that brought me there, and then getting into the relationships and that kind of thing. And she addressed the voice, like, in there. I remember her addressing the voice, and it was like, by the end of it, she was like, you've got your voice back, you've got it back. And I remember feeling a lot more like on top. Yeah, like, yeah. Do you know what I mean? It was a process, didn't just end at the counselling. Do you know what I mean? But I could definitely, again, going back to just the love and what actually God's love is, I could see how God would send people now, like specific people, at different circumstances or different times or for different situations, like, and I could see the specific people. So it weren't like, no, I should go and be transparent with, like, go and talk to just anybody about these things. It wasn't that. It was like, I'm going to send people who are assigned to walk with you for this part or for this situation or for this thing. And in that people who are going to show you my love and my care for you, and my heart for you in these circumstances or situations. I never saw that before. I never got that in all of the 10 years prior to that moment, or that time or prior of that my salvation. I never saw that people who in their love would actually sit with me and just sit, not sit with me in my mess, but sit with me to help me get out of the mess and say, like, nah, and would literally sit there to try and clean the wounds. And you could just cry with, and there's people like yeah. And it's like, I just saw God's love, God's heart in these specific people. Yeah. And I say from that, like, everything followed literally from the love, and I call it like my love encounter with God. From that is where everything follows. From that transparency, from that is where everything followed. So, seeing God's love holistically for me is where everything else followed. Like, that I saw the shift in the relationships. I got out of that relationship and I saw a shift in kind of my mindset. Certain mindsets had to be broken. And there's certain things that I still have to be unlearned and still have to be thingy. Like, God, the process is God will show things, how that has affected me. He will show me, and he will keep showing me. Like, keep on showing. Like, I didn't even realize that abuse was the actual reason for all of that stuff, because I forgave the person a very long time ago. I was not holding it against them. I did not hold it against them. I forgave them years, like, long, like, I don't think I ever really held it against them, actually thinking about it. But I never have held it against the person. So I forgave them a long time ago. So sometimes we think our healing is just about forgiveness. That is a part of the thing, is forgiveness. But sometimes healing, there's so much more to it than the forgiveness part. That's a part of the healing process, or that is a part of it. Sometimes we might need to deal with the forgiveness, but then there's the effects of now the thing as well. So yeah, the effects. So you might forgive for the act or the deed, but now even sometimes forgiving for the effects of it. So forgiving maybe for the effect that my voice is gone, or you took my voice, or the voice is gone, or forgiving for the actual effects that might come up over time that you might not be aware of. But for the actual deed of the abuse as such, I forgave a long time ago. Let that go alone. Let that go in that sense a long time ago. Thankfully. So yeah, like I said, I didn't really know. But yeah, that was everything else followed. So I began to my relations, even my life transformed in God. Like certain things in God, it was just a total transformation. It went from being behavior or performance based to bring God everything, tell him everything, everything, bring everything, and you're gonna see, he was bring everything to me, and no matter what it is, and you're gonna see my care, you're gonna see how I'm gonna work with you, or work however I'm gonna work to try and help you through these things, or to help you through these things. I was exposed, like I say, I encountered God's love, and that was the game changer. That was the game changer. My relationship with God, it just shifted everything. And like I say, it was from that where things shifted in those other areas, relationship wise, and some of those cycles that I was in. So now, get the time where I can talk in it. But now, so now, that was kind of my transparency journey. That was my transparency journey. That's the truth behind how Transparent Talk came. Because I realized the importance of being transparent with God, and with the right people who God assigns, and he calls for you to assign to walk with you, or to support you, or whatever. But he will use people. There is no getting away from people. He will use people, but do you know what I mean? It's not, like I say, it's this right people who have the capacity, who God has given the capacity and the ability to, and it might just be a counsellor, like I say, it might just be a counsellor, but that is Transparent Talk. I realise the importance of, when I think of transparent, this glass is transparent, but it's not water. Let me have. Sorry, but it's transparent. But when I think of transparent, I don't even necessarily mean see through this glass, but actually mean see into. Do you know what I mean? If you were to think of a car that had the glass windows, it's allowing people to see inside of me, and that was it. I allowed God to see inside, and those depths, I invited him into those depths of me. I allowed my pastor's wife to see inside of me. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes I totally see through her. Not that. It's not the totally see through. It's to see into. It's to see into what's going on, to see into the heart, to see into what's actually taking place, to see into those experiences, to see into, do you know what I mean, into the thought processing, and the processing of the thoughts, and how you process, and how you allowing God to see into that, allowing even yourself to an extent to see into that, and allowing others as God leads to see into that. But through talking, and one of the things is that sometimes there is no other way but talking. And with God, I say prayer, crying out. It's just it was talking. I was on my bed just talking to God, I would be talking, I'm talking to you, talking. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes there is no other way that God will come in until he hears us actually invite him in to the situation. He can come in, he's God, but he stands at the doors and knock. He doesn't kick the door down of our hearts. He gives people free will for a reason. So he will stand and knock. And he was saying, like, so the knocking for me was it coming to mind, and the stirring up. That was my knocking. Like, that was God knocking, stirring it up now, stirring up the, okay, I want to get out of this. I want to get out of this. I want to change in my life. That was God knocking, standing at the door, knocking. And it was for me to open up and say, and that was me opening up on that day on the bed saying, God, like, I need to change. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So though he knows, like, he's a gentleman, innit? Yeah, he's a gentleman. Gives us free will, like I say, and he likes to be invited into the situations. And it's for us as well to invite him in when we know that we actually want a change. We want our life to shift. We want a change. Yeah. So that is what transparent talk is. That is people transparently sharing their processes, their journeys and their experiences, and going through things, and sharpening each other and helping each other, and just sharing that and speaking of it. And that is the kind of background in how why transparent talk came, and the importance of it, and like I said in the beginning, why I kind of hold it. And it's really, and especially like when I say like it being Christians on the panel, even people to see that Christians, let me tell you something, and I don't know if anybody on here whether you call yourself a Christian or not, but we go through life. Like, we go through, it's not I'm a Christian and now life is perfect, or it means I'm telling you, it doesn't mean that we are perfect. You heard me say that a lot of that was me in my salvation, me going to church, me praying and reading and all of the rest of it. You've heard me say it. You say it does. Being a Christian does not mean your life is perfect. You're not going to experience things. Listen, this Christian got sexually abused. Yeah. So it's not that there's no, and this Christian is dealing with the effects of sexual abuse, which I've listed and went through and had to deal with, and still dealing with some of those things. Do you know what I mean? And being able to talk confidently and all of that stuff. But yeah, so it's not that being a Christian doesn't mean that your life is perfect. But what it does mean, hallelujah, let me just give God a moment of praise. What it means, yeah, is that, and even like when we're on those panels, and when we're talking, it's showing ourselves and showing each other and showing others that what it means is that we're going through it with God. It was going through that process of transparency. I went through that with God. That's what being a Christian means, that we've invited God in to go through this life now with us, you know. Even when we think of like marriage, we can think of even marriage, and if we was to think of if we was to think of like marriage in the sense of like vows, that marriage vows, like that is God's love. That is the love that I got introduced to that day at that table. Like if to think of marriage vows and think of like when they say I'm doing life with you, that life commitment. That doesn't necessarily mean life with you and it's going to be la-di-da or whatever. No, think of those vows that a husband and wife says. They say for better or for worse. So that is what God says. I'm going to do life with you for better or for worse, when you're in the great times and when you're in your worst times, for richer, for poorer, when you're in your rich times or when you're in your poorest state, for in sickness and in health, on that sickness bed, when you're sick in distress or sick in depression or sick in whatever, and in health when you're not, when your health is great, when your health is good, when your health is all whatever, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish. I'm going to love you. That was what I was introduced to. Like I say, at that table was, I'm going to love you and cherish you in and through all these situations. You're going to go through life, sickness, health, rich or poor. You're going to go through all of that. But do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go through it with you. You're going to go through fire times. You're going to go through mountaintop times. But do you know what I'm going to do? In my love, because I love you, because you're going to see me walk with you in all of those moments, in all of that. Do you know what I mean? You're going to see that I'm going to get you through that. I care about every part of you, when you're rich and when you're poor, when you're broke and you're crying out for gas. Call on me, Jesus. Call on me, the Lord, and cry out for the gas, because you'll see me send some gas for you if that is what you need. Do you know what I mean? But even if you don't get the gas, you're gonna see me. I'm gonna let my presence be known to you, even in those situations that are tough, that are hard. Do you know what I mean? I'm gonna show you my love for you in those distressing times as well as those mountain happy times. Do you know what I mean? That is the love of God. That's love. That is what I missed. That is what I didn't get. That. Do you know what I mean? And even like, when we think again of even like those marriage vows, like with my body, they say like, with my body I honor you, like that, and that is the love of God again. Like, and now that gives me a different revelation, or understand, I say different revelation, but gives me that deeper revelation, if you like, of even when Jesus died on the cross. Like, with my body I honor you, I died for you, my body was slain for you, like died for you, like, and all that I am I give to you, give it for you, like I share with you. Like, that is God's love. That is God's love, that I would die for you. That is how much you are worth. That is the worth that I was missing. That, no, I'm going to die for you. That is the love that I missed when, do you know what I mean? Or the love that I was seeking. That love, that kind of committed love, better for worse love, richer, poorer, that God, that the love that God introduced me to at that time, that love, do you know what I mean? Introduced me to in him. And that is what, like I say, all of that is what changed the whole thing. Like, to comfort, to honor, to protect, forsaking all others. Like, it's a personal thing. It's a personal relationship. It's a one-on-one thing. It's a personal, but you're going to see me use others. You're going to see how I'm going to, not say use, you will use others. You're going to see how others are a part of my strategic plan to help you along the way, to support you. But it's going to be me supporting you through them at these different types. Like, that is what I missed. I say that's what I missed in salvation, but that is what salvation, and even as being a Christian, is. Yes, to save us from the sins, but also to heal those things that where we've just got life messed us up, where experiences have messed us up. And even as in our time as Christian, where experiences are going to mess us up, where certain things are going to mess us up, when people are going to still reject us, where people are not going to get us, or life happens. It's just like I said, better or for worse. It's not that we're not going to experience life. Yeah, we might experience somebody bad mouth, or we're going to experience things, but he's saying, I'm going to walk with you in every situation. That is the love of God. That is what the love of God is. The holistic love. The holistic, and it was me getting introduced to that holistic love through that transparency with God that changed the whole thing. And where transparent talk came. Guys, my voice, let me sip my water. But that is the transparent talk, the truth behind transparent talk, and how transparent talk came to be. I don't know if anybody is there. Is anybody out there? Is anybody out there? I don't know if anybody's there. Hey, Lisa. Yeah, so that is the transparent talk, the truth behind transparent talk, guys. That is the truth behind transparent talk. Yeah, don't know. Does anybody have any? Thank you for your openness and honesty. You're welcome. I hope. Well, say hope. I hope. Well, yeah. I hope. Well, you understood. Got to know a bit about me. It's important. I think got to know about transparent talk and just like the groundwork and the foundation of it and where it's coming from. Part of your healing journey. Yes, definitely. I believe that there's more. It's a continual part. I think over time, God will probably keep revealing certain things, or maybe how that affected the abuse affected me, and maybe other areas where he wants to work on, or what he wants to work on in me as well. Yeah, definitely. So guys, I don't think there's no questions in there. Oh, thank you, Sister K. I love you. I think you have reinforced the message that all behaviour comes from somewhere. Yeah. And I think that's so important, you know. Because even when I think about Lisa, when I think about the women at the well, it was like Jesus, it's not that he didn't address the situation with her being with somebody who's not married. He spoke about it, but that weren't the focus, you know. That weren't the focus. And just like the Satan, the focus was, give me water, you got water. He had that little moment of sit down over the table talk like I had with her, you know. And the even for her, it was that there's something in you that needs to be a void that you have, that you're probably trying to fill with the guys or with the men or with the man. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't that it wasn't addressed. But he just needed her to acknowledge it and recognize it, and then in the sense of bringing it, and that's when her thing was changed. There was a root, and for her, like there was a void. There was something that needed to be satisfied that only he could satisfy. God could satisfy. Jesus, yeah, and that's it. It's just like that something's come from somewhere, and we can't just look at somebody. Well, like I think sometimes it's just ask, maybe actually take time to actually, I think maybe, I don't know if the word is sit down with people, maybe it's just sit down with people. But sometimes we look at behavior, but there's more, and we might not even know what's more, and they might not even know what's more, because like what the actual thing is, because like I said, I didn't really know, but it was a matter of, it was like God brought it to my mind. He started to bring it to, so I didn't really know. So it could be that you don't actually know, because like I say, I didn't know it was an issue. But if he could, sometimes it's like God, maybe just asking God, when you get to that, like, what is the issue? Like, what is it? Like, what is it? So he can just address it, God. Whatever it is, please just address it. He hears our cry. He hears our heart. He hears it. He hears the prayer. He hears it. When it's coming from that place of like I need a shift. I need a change. Like I say, we really might not even know. And there's probably certain ways in my behaviour on character still, and certain ways that I think, or maybe that are still linked to that now. Do you know what I mean? That I still don't know, but I'm yet to find out along my journey of life. And God will, because he will reveal, but he won't just reveal for it just to be revealed. He will reveal for it to be addressed. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, but anybody anyway, just like what I done, I sat on my bed. It was me and the Lord. You can sit down in your bed and you and the Lord talk and just say, God, like, deal with me. Just please, like, whatever it is. You don't need, it was me and God, that conversation happened with. And from there, I saw how God started through my pastor calling, and then through my pastor's wife calling, and then through, I saw God. But it was first that conversation, and that is what God just wants us to do. Is talk to him, get transparent with him, like dare to invite him into the situation that you know you don't really, that you haven't spoken about. Maybe that would be a starting point, or that you haven't spoke to God about. Sometimes we might have spoken to other people about it, but actually, have we spoken to God? Speak to him about it. Do you know what I mean? Speak to him about it. Sometimes we speak to people, but we haven't spoken to him. So the speaking to people, expecting the change to come, but it's only he can bring the change, and he will use people, but he's still waiting for us to speak to him. Did well, Ash. I will not be silent. Amen. So guys, thank you for joining. I'm not sure, I don't think there is no questions in this box here. No, there isn't. If anybody had questions, you could have sent them in. But yes, guys, thank you for joining. So, Transparent Talk. So tonight at midnight, we will be releasing the unreleased episode, the very first episode of Transparent Talk to be released. The big jump be released at midnight. So please go to our Transparent Talk YouTube channel and subscribe. It's also in the link in the Instagram page. The link is in the bio, our Instagram page bio. So please, you can click that and just subscribe and press the thing, so when it comes out, you'll get the little notification and you can have a little watch. It was 5 years ago. Hi, Abs. It was 5 years ago where that was. So yes, there's going to be some more Insta lives, there's some more episodes or unreleased episodes to be released that you're going to see be released. If you're not following already on social media, do follow. And if you like my t-shirt, Rich in Love, it's by Clear Intentions 33. Follow them, who sponsored Rich in Love. And if you didn't get it, that was my whole transparency thing, was just the love which transformed me and changed me. And that is just continuing to transform me. Clear Intentions, they're on Instagram, clear.intentions33. Clear.intentions33. Great organisation that supports women and things. But you can have a look at their page. Big thank you so much, guys, for joining. I don't know if there's anything anyone else wanted to say before I say thank you. Again, please follow, share. The replay, I'm going to share it to the IGTV, and it will also be available on YouTube and Facebook. But guys, thank you again for joining. Catch up if you missed it, catch it up. But thank you, guys. Have a great evening and enjoy the last bit of the sun. Peace.